Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Everything EPL, episode 22. Transfer deadline. The window just shut. Close on Man United. This is what I'm going to start with just to tell them that they haven't done any business. They just didn't even let Lingard out. It's kind of very strange for someone to bring a coach, a system, and then here you go. We're not going to back you up. Just deal with what you have. And Spurs getting two deals over the line. Great deals, to be honest, from Juventus. Not a bad deal for them, even though they wanted a right wing back, but they didn't get him. So we'll see how it's going to go with Emerson Royal for the rest of the season. Liverpool, Luis Diaz, maybe he's going to replace Mane. This is what Liverpool fans want. However, is he good enough? Is he as good as Mane? We shall see. Arsenal failure, Edo failure, Arteta failure. Everybody just failing in that club. We have no idea what is going on in that club. We'll talk about it with Kaeman here, the Arsenal supporter. He's shocked as much as us. And then Jackson right here, Chelsea. No business. Usman Dembele was something a little bit extra. If they got him, it was okay. Nah, they didn't get him. It's fine. But at least Arsenal, they got people out of the door they didn't want. They didn't replace them. Their squad is very thin. Anyway, I want to welcome everybody here and I want to welcome my guests. I'm going to start with Rakesh. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good, Mo. I'm good. Still waiting to hear whether the Carvalho deal has been finalised or not, because I think there was some issues with the EFL sorting out the deal sheet. But yeah, look, we got Diaz in. That's the most important one, and Carvalho would be the icing on the cherry, the cherry on the icing on the cake. So let's see. Oh, we got a pitch invader behind
Yeah.
the Arsenal
Cayman
Arsenal
with
friend.
his baby in the back. Hey, how are you, Cayman? And how are you feeling after this window?
I mean, DC Clovis. That's exactly
Yeah.
how I'm feeling right now. Um, I think I'm a little bit more positive than a lot of people will be, and I'll kind of talk about it later. But now, glad to be on here.
Jackson, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great, Mo. Just hoping Chelsea gets a run of form recently or in the future, but other than that, everything is good.
Alan, your club needed. I think you needed this window more than Arsenal, and at least you succeeded. I'm not gonna bash Arsenal here, but you succeeded in something. How are you feeling after these two transfers?
Yeah, I'm happy with the signings we've got in. I'm even more pleased with the signings, like people we let go on loan or out of the club. It's been a lot of deadwood there for some time. So to get the bad eggs out is just as important for me. So yeah, positive both directions.
It feels to me that this window was more about, for some clubs, it was more about getting the deadweight out of the door, especially for the ones that have like very big squad with players not used. A lot of them, like Ndombele, Ali, and for Arsenal, Aubameyang, the guy who Arsenal owed 26 million pounds over the next 18 months, but they got rid of that, but without replacement. I'm gonna start with, to be honest, with one question. Is Man City that strong that we actually did not hear anything about them in this window? Are they like the best of the best, la creme de la creme? They don't need any additions. They have the league already in their pocket. Even Champions League, they think they're the strongest team. I'm going to start with Rakesh. Tell me about this, since you are like the actual rival for this team. Do you think like Man City, they didn't care about this window? They already got it and they didn't need anybody?
No, look, I mean, not many teams do much business in the January window, so that's the backdrop that we need to start with. I don't think City needed signings. They got the young kid from South America, Alvarez, I think his name is, but
Yeah.
obviously he's more one for the future. City didn't need signings, and but you know Alvarez came up and they acted similarly. I don't think we needed it, but I think we have a weaker squad than City, so it made sense for us to strengthen. But look, City are a good club. They're one of the best teams in the world, top three or four for sure, and they're going to be at the end of the season. They're going to be there challenging for every honour. So I don't doubt their credibility as contenders for every competition. But yeah, they just chose not to act, which is fine. That's their prerogative.
For the Chelsea supporter, Jackson, you guys didn't need any signing as well. It's just you got some guys out on loan. do you think that your squad is good enough, even though most of the Chelsea fans were actually crying for a midfielder? You guys were crying for a replacement for Lukaku. Are you happy with this window, or you think you could have done more?
Well, I mean, I think we could have done more, but for me to be honest, I think it's just good to not see some players leave, or at least not yet. The summer will be interesting, but right now, I am happy with the squad. I think Tuchel is building up a really good system. I think maybe what we could have done is got an outside back to help ease some of the pain while Chilwell and Reece James are still out on injury. But other than that, I think we're fine. To be honest, I didn't want to see Lukaku replaced. Obviously, his interview and all the problems that created was bad. But I think that's going to be well in the past here in a minute. I don't think it's really going to affect anything. And I do think Lukaku is going to come back into form. I want to see him stay for a while.
Alan, how do you feel about Liverpool stealing Luis Diaz under your nose in the daylight? And with your coach being Antonio Conte, to be honest, he can attract anybody in the world. However, this guy for 50 million said, you know what, I'm not going to go in this building squad. I'm not going to go where I would struggle to start, to be honest. He would have started right away in the Tottenham squad. So how do you feel about that? And do you feel like, is it actually something that Tottenham are not as big as Liverpool? Or is it money wise, or your project is not actually as promising as people think it is?
As a proposition, Liverpool are the better proposition for any player with Champions League football and how well they play in the Premier League and like the titles that they win. He also preferred Liverpool, but I believe if Spurs have acted like a proper club and within the first couple of days highlight the people we wanted and gone straight and like caught Liverpool cold, we may have signed him. But because Tottenham do what Tottenham do and take 3 weeks to try and attempt to transfer, like to structure a deal and to just take the time and drag their feet, I believe that, we could have missed out on the player there. It's just what Spurs do. That's why I'm very frustrated with my board. But yeah, seeing a quality player like that go to Liverpool when we were actively trying to get older is always going to, hurt. But at least we got a player in who can cover that position as an addition to the squad. So it's not like we're completely missing out. Just a difference in quality at this moment in time.
Before I move to the question to Rakesh about Luis Diaz and his role in the squad, that is he going to be a starter? I have seen a lot of the kid. He's absolutely brilliant kid. He's going to add a lot to the squad, but they have Mane, Salah, Firmino, Jota. I think Minamino, I'm not sure if he's still there or not. There are rumors that he's gone. But I'm going to ask Kaeman, as an Arsenal supporter. We know you're seeing Liverpool making deals, Tottenham making 2 deals. How do you feel being the people like the club that were left out of everything? Nobody wanted to go. You got people out, yes, but you didn't get anybody in. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think.
Sorry, I just have to laugh at Alan's reaction. Sorry.
No, but I mean, I think this is the frustration that a lot of us have had, specifically with like Edu, because it just seems like there was a plan A, which was a good plan to try to get Vlahovic in, beat all these other big clubs when he's going to have more attractive offers in the summer. But that didn't work. And then is there a plan B? No. They just assume that they're going to be able to, get Isak in for less than his clause that he's going to get at the end of the transfer window. Like, there's no way. Like, you have to pay, the release clause. That's the only way you're going to get him. So to me, like, that being your plan is just bad. I think, chasing for Artur Melo for so long was silly, especially when Juventus weren't willing to give us any type of loan that was attractive, and especially when you're looking for more of an 8 instead of a 6 for, who you're trying to bring in for the midfield for coverage. So it was just silly in that regard. That being said, we were complaining the opposite way in the summer that, Edu's not getting rid of anybody. All he's doing is signing players. So then we get to this window and he gets rid of a bunch of players and doesn't bring in anybody. And we're like, he's not signing anybody. So, in that way, if you kind of even out the summer and winter transfer business, it kind of evens out a bit. But that being said, yeah, I mean, we need a striker. We needed to bring a striker in. I think we should have overpaid for Isak or something. Because having 2 guys who are out of contract, I mean, there's no way we're not going to get screwed in the summer transfer window because everybody knows Arsenal's desperate for a striker now.
Yes, Rakesh, Luis Diaz, is he the starter material for Liverpool? Is he the one that is gonna maybe win you? Because I hear Liverpool fans saying that we're gonna win the next 15 games and win the league from City. I don't believe that. Of course, it's just bullshit, to be honest with you. Nobody's gonna win the next 15 games and win the league from City unless City like have like 10 injuries or something like this, or Guardiola gets COVID for like 2 months. What do you think about Luis Diaz? Why did you need Luis Diaz now? Are you replacing Mane today? Is Mane the dip in form affected the squad that much? Why Luis Diaz now?
Just before I answer that, the Carvalho deal is off. It looks like the deal sheets or something weren't in with the EFL, so it's not going to happen. So that's disappointing. Look, in terms of
is he coming in the
Diaz,
summer? Though? Is he coming in the summer? Is that something that to be postponed?
We don't know. We can't. No,
Yeah,
because we can't. Because we're in the UK. Only a foreign club can sign him in a pre-contract at the moment. So, be it Fulham and Liverpool both being within the UK, we can't sign him on a pre-contract until the summer, or we can't sign a pre-contract. We'll only be able to sign him, I think, with 2 months left of his contract. Whereas, if you're a club from Germany or Spain or whatever, you can sign him now. So, but yeah. Anyway, look up about Diaz. We don't really know about Mane's role moving forward. Obviously, he's going to have a year left on his contract in the summer, so that might be an opportunity or a time for him to move on to another challenge. And maybe Diaz is seen as that. Maybe we might offer him another contract. I think his the way that Mane plays has changed. In the past he's been much more aggressive in terms of attacking players and trying to beat players, and this season he's been a bit more direct in terms of running through on goal. The outside in run that he made, for example, in the goal against City, is the kind of run that he's making more this season, whereas in the past he doesn't necessarily mind driving down the line and then putting the ball across or cutting inside and beating a player and having a shot or laying it on for Bobby or Mo. So that side of his game has changed, and I think perhaps in the long term Diaz is going to be seen as his long-term replacement. But I still think for the remainder of the season at least, there's ample game time to be played between both of them. Jota can also play on the right-hand side if necessary, and it just gives us options. And I'm glad he's with us. Normally, players who come into Liverpool's system, it's a well-established system, and it takes time for players to adapt. So Fabinho took time to adapt. Robbo took time to adapt, for example. So I expect him to be a bit of acclimatization. But I also expect him to make an impact this season because although I haven't seen a lot of him play, people who I trust and reports that I've read about him suggest he's the real deal. And I also have a lot of faith in our recruitment team. We very rarely get transfers wrong. And I'm confident this will work out.
Yeah, me too. I've watched the kid. He's absolutely brilliant. The problem is going to be Mane, because Mane is a kind of player that gets you a lot of stuff on the left. He shakes team, to be honest with you, and it doesn't matter if he scores or not. In my opinion, when you have Mane and Salah, you're actually making the opposition confused about which side is the strongest side, no matter how many he scores or how many he creates. I'm gonna move to Spurs, and so I'm not gonna count Chelsea as in the top 4 race, because I think Chelsea, as of now, they have secured the 3rd position based on the points and the way they played against Spurs. But Alan, Kulusevski, I'm a Serie A fan and I watch a lot of Serie A, and I've watched Kulusevski having flopped for the last 18 months in Juventus, had not played to his potential. Bentancur is maybe, in my opinion, good, but he's not better than Højbjerg as much as I saw from him. Is this what you wanted, or did you want another forward as a fan, or a right wing back, or you because I feel like these signings were just, we needed signings and that's it. We needed something to put on the board, or are you actually happy and you think that these signings are gonna get something? You're gonna get something out of these people that is different than what you have in the squad.
I think it'll be different to what we've had in the squad. So for me, my biggest problem was the centre midfield. People instantly go to the right wing back, but you've had Højbjerg that's massively underperformed this season. Skip, decent youngster, but you can't really get him to continue at a high level because he's just not there at the moment in time. And after that, it's just a massive drop off. Because for me, when we play against big teams, you need 3 in the middle because we get overrun. So Bentancur is a good addition because I know from what I've seen of him, he's powerful on the ball. He good, not great passing, not right passing, but very good. He can transition the ball, he can travel with the ball. So it's better than what we've had because quite recently with Højbjerg out, we haven't been able to get the ball up the pitch quick enough and it's been very slow. And that's why we struggle to get out against teams. So happy with that. The youngster up front, he can play. I know he can play anywhere across the front line. I've not seen much of him, but people say he's got ability. He's just got to have it unlocked, and hopefully Conte is the guy to do that. In regards to the areas we didn't get, right wing back, I don't like Emerson or Doherty there. Tanganga, I think, would do a job there because he can defend. He's powerful. He can run with the ball. When he first broke into the team, he played right back and played really well. Centre back's not his position, so I think he could do a good job at right wing back. I would have liked a second striker because if Kane gets injured, we've got no one to back him up. But I would have definitely gone for another centre midfielder, probably somebody who's more, further forward than what we've brought in with Bentancur. But for me, it's better additions than what we had currently. And like I said, with the Deadwood out, it makes us, it just makes the team look better.
It's actually amazing that Antonio Conte succeeded in one window to get rid of all these people. We know that Antonio Conte likes to work with 14, 15 players maximum. And he succeeded to get Ndombele out, Dele Alli out. I'm not sure who else got out, but it's actually very good that you got these 2 out of the squad because I think there was a lot of talk around them more than the team that are actually starting every game talking about why Ndombele and Dele Alli and why they're not in the squad. So going to Kaeman and Jackson, I'm going to start with Kaeman. Do you think that now Spurs are in a better position to get the top 4 than you since they did these deals and they got into the transfer market? And I think they got what Antonio Conte wanted. And as Alan said, they got a defensive midfielder that can carry the ball and they got someone that can play in all the frontline positions. So as an Arsenal fan, are you now thinking that we missed the chance? Because in the beginning of the season, nobody expected Arsenal to be there. But you found yourself in a position where you can actually make top 4. But do you think your board just messed it up?
I think we're still in a place to where we could make top 4, right? But it would have helped to get a really good striker in the window. I mean, if think about it, the Vlahovic deal goes through, then we're in a really great spot, right? But that's not the case, and Lacazette's not scoring enough. So to me, what I'm worried about with our squad is not being able to score goals that we need to win games against smaller sides. You look at the Burnley game, you got to be winning that 1-0, especially in an open net when you're Lacazette, right? So I think we're still in a decent spot. I mean, I think I'm happy with how we are pretty much everywhere on the field. I mean, we got good coverage in every position except for maybe right back. That being said, I think Tottenham did brilliant business on the last day. If you would have asked me, who had a better transfer window before the last day, then I'd be like, they both kind of did terrible. But great additions that y'all got at the last day. So I think it was a better window for Tottenham, and I think they're definitely in a better spot to compete with us for that 4th spot for sure.
Jackson, as a London team, are you still feel superior than Tottenham, even though that Conte wanted players? As Chelsea supporter, are you at all scared about your 3rd position from Tottenham seeing Tottenham in the back window?
I mean, I think a big turning point was the last game that Chelsea and Tottenham played. If Tottenham was to get all 3 points against Chelsea, that would have put a completely different complexion on things. But Chelsea secured a big 3 points, and I think we're looking good. We've had some tough run of form where we're dropping points late, and that really hurt us. It definitely took us out of the title race, in my opinion. And now it does put us in the top 4 race a little bit, with Arsenal and Tottenham having all those games in hand. And then obviously we can count off Man United right now either. I think if they win their 2 games in hand, they're just 3 points behind Chelsea right now. So it's that fourth spot is going to be very heavily fought over. The Spurs signings were great. And like we said, it's who Conte wanted. Let's see if he can start getting some better form out of Spurs. But yeah, for me, the Arsenal, Man United, and Spurs are going to be challenging. If I had to choose the top two out of those, I would say Man U and Arsenal, though. But we'll see. There's a lot of soccer left to be played and some new signings. So we'll see.
Our favorite team here. We don't have anybody to talk about them, but we actually would love to talk about them. And I see it's Manchester United.
Hey.
I have no idea how this window just passed like this. It's very strange, man. They kept crying all that. We're waiting for the winter transfer window to get something for this guy to work. But then Donny van de Beek left. He's going to Everton. I'm happy for the guy, even though I hope that I'm wrong. I don't think he's good enough for the Premier League, but we'll see under Lampard. He likes offensive players. But let's talk about Rakesh. Let's talk about Manchester United. I'm going to give you the floor with a couple of questions. How does Rangnick feel after this window? And is that going to affect his decision at the end of the season in choosing a coach or staying at the club at all?
Look, I don't. Rangnick's deal or agreement, as far as we're aware, is for him to come on as a consultant role. So I don't think he's going to be choosing the manager. They already have like a director of football, this other John Murta. So he's the guy who ultimately should be making the decision on who to bring in as a manager. And my understanding was that John Murta was actually key in bringing in Rangnick as the interim manager. So it looks like those two have got are going to have a good relationship, because one's obviously brought in the other, because obviously Rangnick has a history in building and developing football clubs, and in terms of the Red Bull Group and stuff like that. But Rangnick is not going to be making the decision in terms of who the manager is going to be. He may have an influence, but it will be Murta along with the new guy who's taking over from Ed Woodward and the Glazers and those guys. They'll collaborate and make a decision. I mean, it's quite funny. Let's just be honest. I expected them to maybe strengthen a little bit. I didn't think most teams would strengthen too much, so I didn't expect them to go out and splash like 50 million, 100 million pounds on players. But I thought they are very weak in central midfield, and I felt that that's an area that they may look to bolster, especially if they're going to let players go. But they spent it getting rid of Deadwood, but not even really getting rid of. I think they're kind of hedging their bets. So they've sent Martial out on loan. They've sent Van der Beek out on loan. So these guys they've sent out on loan, maybe because the manager who comes in the summer then has an opportunity to check them out, see whether they're his style of player. I'm not sure who that's going to be. Poch is obviously is touted as being the next guy that they're looking to step into the hot seat. And if that happens, then they don't want to get rid of someone who Poch may want to keep. And that makes sense. But the question is, like, I think top four for them is far from a given. Like, Spurs are starting to play well. Obviously, Chelsea, I think, are a stronger team. I'd love to be able to banter my Chelsea friend in the bottom left corner, but I think and say that he's in the top four race. But I think generally speaking, yeah, Liverpool I think Chelsea will be battling for second or third at this stage, and so that leaves one place in the Champions League or Champions League spaces. And I put both Arsenal and Spurs ahead of them right now, because they just watching them play, they're completely disjointed. There's no harmony. There's no, I don't know. They look like they've never met each other before, even though a lot of these players have played together for a number of years. So I'm enjoying it, and I will continue, and I expect to continue to enjoy it for the end of the season, because Man United are in the mud.
On top of that, there is this issue, the Greenwood issue, that we have no idea how is this going to affect the squad in the next month or two.
Sure.
It's kind of strange that in that day, I think it's the day that Martial signs an official and then this thing breaks out. It's kind of like, I'm not sure if it's unlucky or this kid has just gone mad or something, because this is his second, I think his third strike, 2 strikes with the English squad, something when he breaks out of the I think the national team, and they were somewhere, and then he just left with Grealish or somebody else. So Alan, Man United, are you feeling more comfortable now since they haven't signed anybody and their squad is in shambolic? Do you feel like this team has just missed out in the top 4 completely?
So with Man United, I just think they're a very weird team at this moment in time. So they're not playing good football. They are very disjointed. But even in this poor...
Excuse me. Sorry about that.
Well, she didn't like that.
Opinion.
She didn't like
What was
that.
that?
Alan talking about
Is
Man
she
United.
a United fan?
Yeah, so... But they're getting the results. So that's always a worrying sign if a team's not playing well and getting results and being where they are. So for me, when I'm talking about the top 4 race, I believe we've got the better manager. Arsenal have the better foundation in the team, like young team they've all bought into what Arteta wants. Man United have the best individuals. So every team's got a plus. But I believe Arsenal will do what Spurs did when we had a young team under Poch. And when it gets to the crunch times, we always lost it mentally. Like our mentality went to pot, and that's why we fell in the early years. That's why we didn't get top 4 under Poch. Man United, I don't know, it's so odd to watch them and stuff like that. So I can't really comment on what they want, what they're going to do, because from each week to the next it's different. And with us, I believe Conte's the man to be able to get us over the line. It just depends on how certain areas of the pitch are, because obviously the right wing back is still a problem because we've got no one that can do the job. I don't think he'll play Tanganga, although I want to see it. And then it just depends on like the back line, because Romero's been out for some time coming back. He's done all right, but after such a long first season in the Premier League, he looks good in patches. And then you've got Dyer, who's always a bit awkward. For me, the best bit of business Spurs have done as well with this transfer window is to re-sign Hugo Lloris for another 2 years, because he's just been consistent. So I don't know. And people say it's Spurs. I will discount Arsenal just because obviously the thin squad now. Although they did sign a very good defender, Austin Trustee, from Colorado Rapids. Fantastic player. Yeah, Trustee the process. Sorry, it's fun. But yeah, I think Arsenal will fall away. I'm not sure.
The sarcasm is strong with Alan.
Spurs. So it just depends on how Man United play, whether they gel as a team. If they continue performances like this where they look like individuals, which they are for me rather than the team, then I think we'll get it. If they do, with the players they've got, if they do get better and Rangnick gets a hold of how he wants to play and they play better football, then I think Man United will get it.
Before we move on to the rest of the table, I think the teams that did the best are Aston Villa and Everton, Newcastle. To be honest, they did really, really good business. Yeah. Jackson, as someone who I think Rakesh and Jackson, you guys have no business in the top 4 race because I think both your teams are good. Which team would you prefer to be in the 4th position from Spurs, Arsenal, and Man United? Apart from the English football, for your team next season, which team would you rather be struggling in the Champions League? Because the 3 teams are going to struggle in the Champions League next year if they go. So I'm going to start with Jackson. Which team would you prefer to go to the Champions League next year?
Well, just based off our last 3 fixtures, I'd have to say Spurs. Absolutely plays on. I think that's really a question.
It's true.
If things continue like that, so that has to be my answer.
Rakesh, which one?
I'm not going to pick United for obvious reasons. I mean, it's tight. Like, honestly, I think it's going to be nip and tuck between Arsenal and Spurs. I think Arsenal are playing more cohesive football at the moment, and so I think I might just give them the edge. But Conte is an exceptional manager. He's been there, he's done that, and it wouldn't surprise me if he was able to get that Spurs squad to gel. I wouldn't say every performance is better and better, but he has been making progress since he's come in, and I expect that to continue. It's going to be really close. As long as Man United don't get it, I don't really care too much.
The only reason why I don't want Arsenal to make top four because I'm a friend with Kaeman and I really don't like him to suffer. The problem is if Arsenal make top four, they want to keep Arteta, and these guys are just gonna suffer and suffer again. To be honest with you, the guy has no plan. There is no football going on. He thinks that Saka is Cristiano Ronaldo at his prime, and he thinks Martinelli is like Messi on the left. This is what the guy thinks, to be honest. Anyway, I'm gonna move on to
Say
the
the
rest of the
Spurs
table.
get your manager, you're all of a sudden a Tottenham supporter. That's crazy.
I am not a Tottenham supporter. I love you, my friend, and I want you not to suffer. I want them to sack Arteta and get a better manager for your club. I am, of course, I am. Even though Antonio Conte is from Juventus, but the things he did at Inter are just. This guy transformed players. He made this Lukaku guy a decent forward. To be honest, at Inter, he scored over 50 goals. You can imagine over 2 seasons. This guy that we see, the bouncy guy in the Premier League, scored 50 goals in 2 seasons at Inter. This is unbelievable from the coach, to be honest. Aston Villa, with all the business that he did, I'm going to start with Alan. Aston Villa I think Gerrard is actually doing a great job. I don't want Rakesh to talk about Aston Villa for obvious reasons because he's going to be very biased talking about them because of Gerrard. So Alan, Gerrard, the guy means business. The guy is coming next year. I think all these signings are going to be they're going to be permanent next year for top 6, I think, because I think he has the weapons to do that. How do you rate this transfer window for Aston Villa, and how do you rate their chances of actually breaking into the Wolves position in the 7th spot as of now, or the 8th spot?
So for me, I think Villa had the second best window of the transfer window in the Premier League. For me, the second to Newcastle. I think Newcastle done really well. So I would say Aston Villa is looking good for their future. Gerrard's done it like in the Scottish League for Rangers, turned it around and helped them win the league when Celtic had dominated it for the last 6-7 seasons. So you can see by some of the games, although he lost to United in the FA Cup, and I think he also lost to him in the league, or was it a draw? I can't remember. But you saw them outplay United for large parts of that, playing good football, getting the right bodies into. Like I say, you got a young team like they do. You want a world-class player or player that's been at a world-class level and won stuff like Coutinho to, bring the best out of the youngsters. They've done that. Good addition, Coutinho on the left-hand side. So for me, they had a good squad there as well. I think they were unlucky at the start of the season. I can never remember his name. The one that's Norwich manager now. He basically changed. Yeah, he changed the formation. I think that's what caught them because, last season that they were exceptional. They come to us and we were awful at the start of the season on Nuno, and we absolutely outplayed them. I think the manager was culpable for that. But now you've got the right manager for me with the players he's got, identifying the players that he needed with, like I say, bringing in a world-class player or ex-world-class player like Coutinho. I think it's only going to get better for them, and I think there's a clear plan there for what Aston Villa want to do. So I see him back to where they were last season, around 6th or 7th next season, maybe even higher.
Jackson, Newcastle are the team to escape relegation, in my opinion. They got Matt Targett on the left. They got Chris Wood up top. They had Guimaraes in the middle. And I think, did they get a centre back yet or not?
Burn,
this
right?
is what I'm looking
Trippier
for.
they signed, weren't it?
They signed Burn.
Trippier on the right back. But then, yes, they got Dan Burn. So they got Dan Burn over the line. So I think this is the best transfer window we've seen, the winter transfer window I've seen. How do you see this Newcastle team gelling together? It's kind of tough when you get 5 players that they might be starters in the first game back. How do you see them playing? Chris Wood has played 2 games with them, but the rest they haven't. So do you think this will hurt the squad, or this is just you getting player to play and together and to gel together is tough, and they might not have enough time until the end of the season to actually do the right thing with these players to escape relegation?
I don't think it'll hurt them necessarily, because if you look at a lot of their defensive performances, anything will be an upgrade from that. I think they really needed to strengthen their back line, and that's what they did. So I think they get a little more structure and organization in there. yeah, maybe for a few games it could be tough before it gels, but I think they will. I think the defensive signings will be very good for them. I don't really know, really, in my opinion. I think maybe if they got one more central midfielder, that would have been very good. But they definitely came out on top with those defensive signings. So I think they're in a much better spot than weeks ago.
To be fair, Guy Rice was an incredible signing in the midfield. And the fact that they were able to get that done in December when everybody else was eyeing moves for him in the summer, I mean, credit to him. That's great business.
I think this is the guy that's going to get them out of the relegation, to be honest, because with the
Yeah, I
defense,
agree.
like they signed Trippier, they signed Dan Burn, and they signed Matt Target. These are mid-table players that will absolutely enhance the defense, to be honest. They needed someone in the midfield better than the ones they have, because I think their front line is good enough. Joao Linton, Chris Wood coming in, and San Maximan, and when Wilson becomes healthy, I think this is a strong front line for Newcastle. But Watford signed a lot of players that we have no idea who they are, to be honest. If you look at the Watford sheet, they signed about 8 players that I have never heard of. All of them for like 1.5 million to 2 million, from left back to right back. But this team is I don't know what they're gonna do, to be honest. Watford, I'm not sure if any of you, Rakesh, do you know any of these players? Did you even follow the Watford transfer window? And
I very, very keenly, yeah, of course. I'm a student of the game, Mo. No, not at all. I didn't really. All I know about Watford is actually they have a pretty extensive scouting system. Obviously, they're owned by the Pozzo family, who also own. I can't remember the name of the team in Italy.
Udinese.
Udinese, exactly. So you know, they and generally speaking, they have a good scouting network, and they buy good players. I mean, they've even when they've been relegated stuff, they've always had a few gems in there. It's just the balance of the squad, and perhaps the chopping and changing of managers that's let them down. But yeah, look, it's difficult to assess because most of these guys are unknown. They may be good players, but whether they're going to be good enough right now is a huge question mark. So it'll be interesting to see, because if they get out of it, then well done to them. But it's going to be a long third of the season left.
Yeah, the only one I know is Samir, because I watch Udinese sometimes, and he's an okay center back. He's not a world-class center back. So Kaeman, one thing left is the Everton guys. Frank Lampard coming in, Donny van de Beek. They got, I don't know who else they got. I lost track of all.
They got a left back from, I want to say some Russian club, but
yeah,
they got Dele Alli too.
They got
Dele Alli.
Not yet, is it?
Yeah, no, it's confirmed.
It's confirmed. Or maybe my page has not refreshed yet. I don't think Dele Alli is gonna. I think it's gonna flop.
Dele Alli deal's done. The deal sheet is with the Premier League for Dele Alli to complete his move from Tottenham to Everton on a permanent deal.
So, do we think this is gonna get them out of this freaking 17th or 16th position in the league and get them back to where they belong wage-wise? Because these guys pay tons of money in wage. If you look at their wage bill, it's like top. I think it's top 8. And you can't be like the 17th when you pay all this money. How do you think this Frank Lampard project is going to go? And is it a long term, or he's just going to be one season and it's not going to work?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, because when Chelsea got Lampard, I was assuming it was going to be a long-term goal, but you know how Chelsea does.
Yeah, it was tough.
No offense, Jackson. That being said, though, I mean, I think it's a good signing for the morale of Everton fans, because I mean, you just saw how adamantly they hated Benitez, right? Mm-hmm. And for him to get 2 very good players, in the window within, I think, like a couple days of being appointed as manager, it's good business. I think Dele Alli is an exciting prospect. I think Van de Beek is a good option to try to get a box-to-box player who needs to prove themselves. But that's what Everton needs. You know what I mean? So I think it's good business. I think it's exciting. At least I think you're gonna get fans behind it, and I just don't see that side getting relegated with Dele Alli in it or Van de Beek. So I think it's good, because if we look at the beginning of the transfer window, we thought they were in shambles, right? Losing Luka Dean, like there's no way, with how much he creates for them. But they've got Calvin Lewin back off of injury, and they've got some really exciting new offensive signings. I think they're going to go out there and they're going to score some goals on some teams. I mean, I really do. I think defensively, they're definitely not the strongest side in the league, and I think they're going to give up a lot of goals. But offensively, they're scary, and they've got a decent attack.
Yeah, I thought El Ghazi was a great signing for them too. He's a dangerous.
I love this player. I always liked this player. I thought he's very exciting. Every time he comes on the field, I feel excited. He's very physical player, has a lot of technicalities, but then somehow he just fucks it up at the end, to be honest. But I'm excited for this player more than Dele Alli, because I think Dele Alli is a lost cause for mental issues instead of just being technical. Because I watched this guy live, and he was absolutely great, but I think mentally he's not in the game. We have seen a lot of players like this when their abilities is phenomenal, but then they just don't do well because of mentally they are not in the game. And I think this is going to be Dele Alli's problem, because I think Frank Lampard is a very tough manager. That's what I've seen from him at Chelsea. He hasn't gotten the chance to work with the squad enough, but it didn't work out for him. It might work out for him in Everton. I'm gonna ask.
You know what I'd say about Ali is, like, I was really impressed by him in the game we played against Spurs, and the thing is he showed it for a good 2 or 3 years, didn't he? And then the last 2 or 3 years he just kind of disappeared. I don't know what Alan thinks, whether that Ali is done and dusted, or whether anything can if there's any chance, if under the right management, whether we can see that guy again.
So with Dele Alli, I've said it as a Spurs fan. I've said the only way you'll see the best Dele Alli again is if he plays in a certain position. Because when he was under Poch and he came into the team, he was played in that like sort of number 10, but second, like a shadow striker role, where he'd make runs off of Kane in the box and stuff like Lampard-esque. Like, not saying he was as good as Lampard. No, before anyone clips that, no. But he would make late runs in, not picked up, and that's where you see the best of him, like scoring goals and getting into the box. When we decided to change formation and stuff like that under Poch, and he was pushed further back, he wasn't the same player. And then obviously he got under Mourinho, he got pushed further back. And then it's continued like that. So he's not played in that position. I think if he plays, because I think Everton do play the 4-2-3-1. So I think if he plays in that position, you'll see better than what he did at Spurs. But I agree with Mo. His mentality isn't there. I believe his peak came really too early. And it's basically had a really bad influence for him, because he's too worried more about social media and TikToks and stuff like that than he is performing on the pitch. So I think he's believed his own hype way too soon, and it's got in his head. And because you can see by the way he conducts himself, like on the sub bench or anything like that, he believes he should be on that pitch regardless. And that's a really bad attitude to have. You have to work for things in life. And then also Mourinho said it best, he's actually a poor trainer. So you can have all the ability you want. If you don't put the work in and managers pick up on it and go, well, you're not putting the effort in off the pitch, I'm not going to play you. You're just going to, wherever you go, until you change your mental attitude, you're still going to have the same problems everywhere you go.
Another player that I think it's exactly the same before. Go ahead.
What did Everton pay for him? Because I don't actually know what the fees were involved.
It's ranging. So I've seen things say that, like, literally it's initially a free, and then with add-ons and that coming to like 10 million if he like plays. But then I've seen one saying that no, with add-ons and everything, like, you get up to about 30-40 million for him. So I don't know. Yes. I've seen varied things. I'm not entirely sure which one it is.
It's not confirmed. Hey, there's something here that is said about Liverpool. They said that they actually got Carvalho. The deal has gone, but he will stay at Fulham on loan. This is maybe can you confirm, Rakesh, this, because it's here we go.
My understanding. Yeah, so my understanding is that the deal wasn't completed, and so he's still a Fulham player. He hasn't signed he may have signed a contract with Liverpool, but either way, it's not a valid contract. But his contract is ending at the end of this season with Fulham. So he'll be a free agent. We can sign a pre-contract with him 2 months before the end. Foreign clubs could potentially sign a pre-contract with him now. But I think the Julian Ward used to work for the Portuguese Football Association as an analyst, speaks Portuguese. We've got a couple of other Portuguese. Pep Linder's our assistant manager, used to work for FC Porto. Vitor, I can't remember his surname. He also is Portuguese. He works for Liverpool. So I think we've done a lot of the groundwork. So I expect he'll probably come to Liverpool anyway. But we'll see.
No.
There's
Before we
plenty of
move
time
on,
between
there's
now and then.
another player that I actually thought he would have moved this transfer window, Ross Barkley. There's a lot of I thought there is a lot of clubs that in need for Ross Barkley in their team, like someone who can play a box to box rule, but nobody moved for this kid. He's not a kid anymore, but he's actually similar to Dele Alli. He actually played really well at Everton, I think, last season, the season before. But then he came back to Chelsea. They tried him a couple of times. It didn't work. Do you guys think this guy can revive his career at any shape or form, or it's just done? This guy is done, and he's gonna move down the league and stuff like this. But because I still rated that player, to be honest.
Well, I think he still has a lot of talent. He's just not necessarily getting in the Chelsea side. He had a few performances. I think it was a couple months back. He was for like about a month there. He's consistently getting in the side, and I thought he was playing well, but then he had a slight dip before, and then we haven't seen him again. I was with you. I was actually talking about that with a friend the other day. It would have been nice to see him leave because I still think he has a lot of potential talent left to offer. But I just don't know if he gets into the Chelsea side at this moment in time.
Yeah. Fabrizio Romano just confirmed that the guy actually signed for Liverpool Carvalho for some reason, which I believe Fabrizio when he says something. So for somehow they got this. Somehow he did it.
When
Anyway.
did he say? Because I'm looking at stuff now that's still like from 1 or 2 minutes ago saying that it didn't.
So maybe he got it wrong then. Maybe Fabrizio got it wrong. This is an hour ago, which is 10 minutes before the market. So maybe it's after. So Bruno said that Dele Alli is, if he plays 20 games, they will pay Spurs 12 million fee after he plays 20 games. This in the next 18 months.
Okay, I think he'll play that amount of games, and we only paid 5 million for him, but he was at one point touted as like 60, 70 million the way he was playing. So, we got a profit on him if that's the case, because he'll play that amount of games. But overall, we probably lost that because we should have sold him sooner because he's been not that good for 2 years.
Yeah. Okay. I think this is the last thing we're going to talk about. The only thing I want at the end is a little bit of a prediction. I know that next week and the couple of weeks coming, there's a lot of good games and big games coming, and I think it's going to shape a little bit. I'm not sure if all teams will win, but it's gonna be a little bit of a shaping on the relegation and actually the top four. I'm gonna start with Rakesh. Couple of questions. Do you think your team can challenge City for the title still?
Yep.
Do you think Chelsea will be in top 4 race, or they just secure 3rd place?
As I said, I'd love to be able to banter Jackson a little bit and say that they're in the top 4 race, but I think they're too strong for the other guys. I think Chelsea will come 3rd. I think we'll be close to City. We can't let the gap. We brought it down to potentially 6 points now if we win our game in hand, and if that gap increases, so if it goes back up to potentially 8 points or potentially 9 points, then I think it's going to be almost impossible. But I don't think it's Bruno may disagree. But
he's a City
title
fan.
race isn't
I know
over.
the guy. He's
Sure,
a City fan.
He's a Newcastle fan now.
Fair enough. But I still think we have a chance. Regardless, I think we're going to challenge for every competition in the same way. I also think City are going to challenge for every competition. They're one of the best teams in the world. So I think we're both going to be there challenging for the Champions League. I think Chelsea are in it as well. And I think Bayern Munich, and I think only us 4 can win the Champions League. It's definitely going to be exciting into the season. I'm really looking forward to it.
I really want a title race because I really want to tune into the City games, to be honest. I want to watch the games. This is what
City
I want.
are a great team.
Kaeman.
Look, City are a great team. It's going to be difficult for us to win the title from here because they're not going to drop many points. City are a machine, but we've done it before in the past where we've won a number of games in a row. If we can do that, go to the Etihad, and if we get a win there, anything's possible.
Yeah. Kaeman, Arsenal are in a tough position. Do you think you can still make top 4? What's the percentage that you think you can make top 4 after this window? I know it's a tough question, but to be honest, because we can keep saying you're going to challenge for top 4, you're going to challenge for top 4, but it's how do you see your team making top 4?
I think Lacazette's going to have to score goals. We're going to have our youngsters, have the form they had all December and just continue that for the rest of the year. I think that the biggest problem that we've had this season is just our ability to score goals in small games, like I mentioned before. I think if we can do that, we're fine. I think we have a pretty tight defense for the most part. So it's just going to come down to that, and I think it's going to be close. I think Manchester United is going to give up points to small teams, so I'm more worried about Spurs. And I think that, I mean, they have. I mean, look at Manchester United against Newcastle, right? Like they've been just dropping points. I mean, even Aston Villa, like. So I just think Spurs under Conte, they're going to have a better system in place, and I think they're going to shore up their defense as well, and they just have better striking options than we do. So I am worried about Spurs taking that spot, but I think it's going to be either 4th or 5th for us. And with how young of a team we have, if we don't get top 4, I don't think it's the end of the world this season. But I am hoping for a big summer win.
That's what every Arsenal fan tells themselves a little bit. Like, oh, we'll have a young team. If we don't make top 4, it's not the end of the world. But 2 months ago or a month ago, you guys were talking like, oh, this is ours. Nobody's going to catch us.
I mean, we were optimistic. But I think if you told yourself a couple months ago that top 4 is exclusively ours, you're joking yourself, right?
Well, a lot of them they did this, to be honest with you, and I know that we know a lot of them. Alan, Tottenham, Spurs. I think you guys are in pole position for top 4, especially if you win your games in hand. You're going to be very close to Chelsea, to be honest. And do you think your team is not the closest? Do you think your team is actually equipped to stay the rest of the season in the 4th position if you win your games in hand?
I think we are, purely for the fact is that Conte's shown what he can do with a bad squad, and like he's got players in now that look like it's what he wants to do. Like I said, got rid of the bad egg, so that's always a positive. It just depends on how we bounce back after the Chelsea defeat. Next 2 games, I think, can't remember who it is. We've got 2 home games, and then we've got away to Man City, so that's obviously the big test. On paper, Arsenal have the easier games. I think they've got to play Chelsea, they've got to play us, but apart from that, or Man United, apart from that, I think they've played both Liverpool and Man City. So on paper, they have the easier second half of the season. But with such a thin squad now, young squad, and especially, obviously I don't want to see any players get injured. If they do suffer some injuries to key players, then they're up against it. So I think, like I said, the mentality of Arsenal are going to make them fall away. And I think if you do get injuries, they're not going to be able to perform to the standard they have. So I think that's against them. So I believe we will get top 4 because it depends on Man United's inconsistency. So I think we've got the squad to do it. We've definitely got the manager to do it. It just means that we've now got to go out there and do it. But apart from the Chelsea game, which I was really annoyed about because we just didn't turn up and didn't show up in the other games, whereas under Nuno, similar games like that, we were absolutely awful. Conte got 6 wins and 3 draws before suffering his first loss, and it's away to Chelsea. So if he can continue runs like that, I want to win all the big games. But if he continue runs like that, where we're getting all the results that we need with the games in hand, we should get top 4.
Jackson, Chelsea, your team. Do you think you can win the Champions League, as every Chelsea fan thinks?
Absolutely, Champions League. I mean, it's going to be tough, but I don't see why not. I think we have the personnel to do it. Easy. But for the title race, I personally think the title race is over, because for Liverpool to really start challenging again, they'd have to win the game in hand. They'd have to beat City. I think United would have to beat City. And then from there, Liverpool not only has to match City, but they have to beat them from there, because City's goal difference is well clear. So that's a lot that needs to go right, that I don't necessarily see all that going into place. And for top 4, I know you guys disagree with me, but I think United is going to get top, mainly just because I think Aldo will start popping off, because he is Mr. Champions League. I don't see him, like, he'll pull something out to get in the Champions League. I don't see it going any other way.
Yeah,
but
summer
that's just
transfer.
The only thing that I actually like after that Southampton game with City, I still think City might drop points. If again, like there is a chance. I know that we don't see City dropping points, but I think they do. They might.
and
Who knows?
City
I
is
wish.
so
Right,
different.
Spurs will do it. Spurs will. We've already beaten this season. We'll go to their ground and beat them as well. We'll keep you in the title race, Rack. Don't worry about it. We'll keep you in the title race.
Do us a favour, mate. Do us a favour.
We'll do you a favour.
Also,
Not a
I
problem.
mean, the goal difference. City's goal difference is +41. We're +39. Obviously, if we go to the Etihad,
Okay.
say even if we win by 1 goal, then that puts us equal.
You're right there.
We've scored more goals. They've got a better defence. So, you know, swings and roundabouts. It's absolutely not easy. And I'd say if anything, City have got an 80% chance, we've got a 20% chance. But I don't think it's completely over just yet.
When Salah wins us the AFCON for Egypt, for us, and then he comes back for you guys have a chance. I want to thank everybody who watches this, but everybody who is listening to this on a podcast and any platform, please rate us. Make sure to like this video if you watch it later. Thank you all, everybody that came here. Thank you, Rakesh. Thanks a lot for coming in, my friend.
My pleasure, my pleasure. Thanks for having me on, man.
Kaeman, it's always a pleasure to talk to you and play against you. I just played against the guy 48 hours before.
I know, that's why you're so bitter at me this entire time.
Yeah,
No, it's
Alan,
always a pleasure
I
to be on
appreciate
here,
you
man.
coming in, my friend.
No problem. Thanks for having me. I'd like to come back anytime.
Thank you guys so much. Jackson, my friend, who's always here for me and with me. We always talk about the Premier League and we analyze every game after every round. Thank you for coming in.
Thanks for having me again, Mo. Appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody, for watching. Please like the video, subscribe if you haven't. And thank you, everybody. And we'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.
Okay.